He worked very hard and was unschooled, and he had one child, our daughter, Bobby Jean, who I married, glorious woman. They're all three buried in Jackson, Mississippi now. And when he came, after he sold his business, he would come to the mountains of North Carolina where I was teaching in fall and in the spring, and he'd ask me, can I go up in your studio and piddle? I said, oh, you bet, knock yourself out. And as I say in the book, the only thing I told him not to do was mix the oils and acrylics. And, of course, he figured out a way to do that. So I'm convinced that I owe him a great debt because I watched him turn that red-eye the rooster into a protagonist for all things human. And I think I do the same thing with the walk around. I believe I owe Pepe a far greater debt than he owes me. But he didn't have his career in Mississippi. I showed his work to people I knew, to Betty Parsons in New York and Janet Fleischer in Philadelphia. And his Red-Eye the Rooster series was in the Corcoran Biennial in the mid-'70s. And it was also Bill Fagley put it in the New Orleans Museum of Art Biennial. And I was able to help in that way to introduce his work to the people I knew in the art world. And, of course, my ambition knows no limits. But his career was in a lot better shape than mine in the late 1980s. I really admired him and liked him. And this book that the University Press has done is just remarkable. It does, what you're supposed to do if you're a big game hunter, bring it back alive.
The saga of Red-Eye the Rooster. Tell us about the whole body of what that is, the saga of Red-Eye the Rooster.
Well, for what it's worth, the whole series is installed at the Mississippi Museum of Art, and it will be there till mid-November. So I would encourage people to come see that. I think it's important to have the works of art on the wall close to where the book is, because the book helps understand the works of art.
And this exhibit has how many panels? He did this work in panels.
There's 60. He did in a series of 20. He did 60 panels. And in all of folk art, and I'm very familiar with the medium and with the people involved with it, Howard Finch and those people, no one has sustained a narrative. No one's done anything of this particular scale. So there are 60 panels, and he did 20, then he did another 20, then he did another 20. And that's the best way to install them. And the Ogden Museum of Art installed them all together, and it looked good down there, too. They're one piece of art people have wanted to buy. I want to buy this one and that one. I said, no, it's one piece of art.
It's a story.
I've kept the work. He died in 1986, and I've husbanded the resources, and his daughter and I, we were divorced, but we were never estranged. We stayed in touch, and she appreciated very much what I was doing for Patsy's work. But he made the work. That's the mainmost thing. He made the work.
He tells the story of a rooster, of Red-Eye the Rooster. He literally tells the story from birth to death. Is it about a rooster, or is it about more than that?
Well, it's about a lot more than that. It's all the seven deadly sins. And one of the characters that keeps recurring in there is Colonel Harlan Sanders. Now, if you're a chicken, there's nothing worse in your future than Harlan Sanders, because he buys them and kills them. And as Pepe said in one of his Uncle Ben said, I'm not sure I appreciate what Colonel Sanders is doing, buying this chicken in Mississippi, taking it to Kentucky and frying it up and selling it back in Mississippi. So, it's all the irony of industrialization. But Pepe didn't plan this out. He did this intuitively, and I think that's where the real art comes from. It's the critic's job and the historian's job later to decide what it's all about. But he didn't say, well, I'm going to take these seven deadly sins and illustrate them. He just made paintings that were about the stories he'd been telling me all along. And he was a great storyteller. He was part of that tradition. Our language is our birthright. Everybody tells stories.
When I looked at some of the artwork from this particular exhibit, it reminded me in some ways of Grandma Moses in terms of perspective and color. You have things that are really bigger than something else when they should be the same size or one less than the other.
Well, that's true. Well, and the same thing's true with Howard Finch. There's a kind of a folk art idiom, in which scale doesn't matter in position. It's not a Renaissance sense of deep space perspective. It just gets it all in the picture plane. And Mr. Kitchens was a builder, so his draftsmanship's pretty good. He knows how to use a straight edge and knows how to draw, because he architected, amateurly at the same time. He'd draw it and he'd build it. And he was introduced to acrylic polymer paints for the first time and found a way to work with them. And graphite, he's technically evolved over the decade or so it took to make these paintings. And he's done other work too, which I've kept. I'll be showing some of that. But at this point in my life, I want to see him get some attention. I want him to be in the folk art pantheon. And I've kept a great deal of the work. And of course, he showed a lot and sold some. But the idea now is to place this Red-Eye the Rooster series in an institution that will show it once a year and care for it. The book's been made, but we've got the book. And I can't say enough about the University Press of Mississippi.
Pappy Kitchens and the Saga of Red Eye the Rooster. We've been speaking with the author, William Dunlap. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, Miss Brown. I hope everybody gets to see it.